Axiom.
Hey guys, so in this episode, I'm going to show you how to create your own AI-driven chatbot for Discord. I'm just going to warn you guys now that I am not a coding tutorial channel, so I'm not going to be like typing each line of code, but I will provide you with all the files and I'll be explaining everything, so don't worry about that. Without wasting any more time, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be building this bot using JavaScript. So if you don't already have it installed, which I'm assuming you don't, maybe you do, you're going to need Node.js. So go ahead and find the version that's best suited for your PC and download and install it. Awesome. Okay, after you get Node.js downloaded and installed, you're going to need a tool to edit your code with, so I'd recommend Notepad++ or Visual Studio Code. Either one of those works great for what we need to do here. You can even use Notepad, but I recommend one of these other editors. It just makes it easier to program. So download whichever one you feel most comfortable with, install it, and you're pretty much ready to start programming your bot at this point. Now you're going to want to create a folder on your PC somewhere to store this bot. Could be anywhere. Some people like to put it on their desktop. And inside that folder, you're going to create two more folders. One is going to be called bot, and the other one is going to be called training. Inside the training folder, you're going to create a file called train.js, or if you've downloaded the project file, that's where you'll find that file, train.js. And there's also a file there called conversation.data.json, or whatever you want to call it, but that's going to be your data file. That's where your conversation data is going to come from for the bot to be trained with. And we'll be taking a look at that file later, so don't worry about it for now. Just make sure that you have those two files there. Okay, so now we're going to have to open up a command prompt window at this location, and the easiest way to do that is to hold Control Shift and then right click, and then you can see an option there to open a command window here, open a PowerShell window here, choose that option. Once command window is open at that location, you're going to want to run a command called npm init. And what that's going to do is initialize the node package at that location. It's going to create a package.json file, and it's going to ask you a bunch of quick questions like the name of the package, the version. You can put a description if you want. And the most important point is the entry point. And so you just want to make sure that that has the same name as our file train.js, which it does. You don't have to worry about a test command or Git repository or keywords or any of that, but you can if you want to. You can fill in the author if you wish. And then just confirm yes or hit enter. After that, we're going to need to install Brain.js. So the command for that is npm install --save Brain.js. You can see the command here. Just hit enter after you type that in. That'll install Brain.js. Once that's complete, we can close the command window and then open up our train.js file. Alright, so here's the code for train.js. I'm just going to go through it really quickly because there's not a lot of lines of code here. I'm just going to quickly explain what each thing does, but it's heavily commented, so I mean, it kind of already self-explanatory, but anyway, so right here, this first line, it just basically allows us to read files, so you're going to need to include this. You're going to need to include brain.js. This basically loads the modules for us so we can start using it. These lines of code create the net, the neural net basically. I mean, you can get into more details and specify exactly how many neurons you want to use in each layer and so on, but I found that just using the default is the best. And then I use this activation function. I find that it just works the best for this kind of a bot. And then here we just create a variable that's going to store our training data. And here we got a function that for the very first time when you're first training your bot, you're going to call this function and it's going to create the neural net and store that in a file based on the inputs that we're giving it. So this is basically an input file, the conversation data, and it's going to parse that and then train the bot based on that conversation data. And then this function is used for training the bot after you've already trained it the first time and you want to continue to train it afterwards. You call this function instead. And this function is used to save that training data to a file, neuralnet.json, after it's done training. So it's going to call this function to save the data. This function here will allow you to test the neural net after it's been created. All right, and this function here basically does the training. So it'll create a function called train, and then it takes a few parameters that we give it. So we're telling it here to do 2000 iterations. We're telling it here to log the information to the console. This is the error threshold that we're trying to reach before it ends. Most of the time it's not going to get there with this kind of a chatbot because the data is really random, but we try to get there anyway. This is how many iterations it's going to do before it logs the information. This is a momentum value that you can set and change and mess around with. I like to keep it at 0.1, just seems to work well. You can lower this to 0.01, but that seems pretty low. 0.1 just seems to work well. And then the learning rate, is also a number that you can mess with to change how slow or how fast the bot learns, but I find that keeping it at 001 works pretty good, works pretty fast. And that's basically it. After that, it just saves the data and then tells you that it's done. This function here just is the entry point for the program. So this is where we can tell it to start creating a net for the very first time, or if we've already created a net, you can comment this piece of line of code out and you can remove the comments here, and this function here will now retrain a bot that's already been trained. For now, we're just going to keep this function like that. This function here basically tests afterwards, after you've trained it and everything, and you want to run a little quick test by putting in an entry or typing in a sentence or whatever you can. You could just remove this comment line here and it'll test it for you. All right, here's just a bunch of response arrays. So I mean, when it wants to say hello back to you, it's going to pick a random one of these. And then same with this, bye, lol, weather, yes, no, help. It's just going to randomly choose one of these, and you can add or remove from this list as you please. This function down here just basically takes the response from the neural net. It tries to determine what the topic of the sentence is that somebody's saying, and then it picks a response and gives it a response. That's kind of how this bot works, really simple. This function here at the bottom basically creates a random response. It's all basically randomly choosing words and building up a sentence string. And that's really it. There's really nothing more to this training program than that. So this will basically just train a neural net based on a conversation data that you give it. Now let's take a look at that conversation data. All right, so here's what conversation data.json looks like, and it's really just a JSON file organized with inputs and output. That's how this neural net works. It basically takes a set of inputs and associates them with a bunch of outputs. So as you can see here, in this one group here, we have inputs that are all basically like hi responses, hi, hello, hi there. And the more you have, the better. And then basically the output of that is going to be a 1. All right, see how that's working? It's really simple. And then you can think of as many goodbye responses, and I put them here. Bye, see ya, good night, see you later. They're all basically similar goodbye responses, but those are what the user is going to input. So the bot is going to be looking at these inputs and associating this output with that. So when somebody says goodbye everyone, the bot is going to associate that with a 2, and so on. And so here's a bunch more. So for example, if there's like a person puts in a funny response, you're funny, or they say LMAO, or they say LOL, the bot is going to associate that with the number 3. Here's some weather ones. The bot's going to know that that's a 4, so on and so on. It's really basic. It's really simple, and you can add and remove these as you want. So that's what conversation data.json looks like. And the more information you put here, the better. And if you want to add different groups, you can just add a new number. And the neural net will try to associate that number with whatever the input is. Make sense? All right, let's move on. All right, so now to actually train this bot using this data, you're going to go and open up a new command window in this folder location. So hold Control Shift and right click and then choose Open Command Window here. So in the command window, you're going to want to type node and then the name of your training file. In our case, it's train.js. And then once you hit enter, that'll start training. And so if everything is successful, you should see something like this. So you might be wondering what the error stands for. That basically means how much error the bot's going to have in deciding which output to go with. So an acceptable error for this bot would be somewhere around 0.019, 0.018, 0.017, or anything lower than that, then you're pretty good. The reason why it doesn't get any lower is because our data is really random. But for this chatbot, this will do just fine. And once the bot is done training, you should see a file called neuralnet.json created in the folder. And that is actually the training data. That is actually the neural net, which we're going to use in our bot. Okay, so once the training program is done, you want to copy this neuralnet.json file, copy, and then go over to your bot folder and then paste it in here. I've already got mine pasted in here, but you're just going to copy it and paste it into this folder. In this folder, we also have chatbot.js. And if you don't, you're going to want to create that file there. You're going to want to create a folder called token for your token. And then in here, you're going to have a file called token.js, or you're going to create a file called token.js. And within that file, you're going to store your token that the bot uses to log into Discord with. So I'll open up this token file just to show you what it looks like. Basically, your token file is going to look something like this. You're going to have these brackets here. It's just a JSON file. So in these quotations, this is where you're going to paste your bot token. This is something that you want to keep secret. You don't want to tell anybody this bot token. I'll show you how to get that token later on. Just make sure that you have a file here and you have a folder with token in your bot folder. Okay, once you have chatbot.js created, you're going to want to open that up for editing, and I'll explain to you what each one of these variables and functions do here. So in the bot folder, we're going to have to initialize our node package. So you're going to have to hold Control Shift right click and an open command window. And then here you're going to want to type npm, just like we did with the training program. Then you're going to want to put a space, and then you're going to want to put init or init, and then hit enter. And then it's going to ask you a bunch of these questions again. Just going to go through them really quickly. All right, so that's basically going to create our package.json file. And then we're going to have to run a few commands to install a few node packages. The first one we're going to install is the discord.js. The command for that is npm space install space dash dash save. So it's going to save the latest version for us. And then discord.js. And then hit enter. All right, and after that we're going to run npm install dash dash save. And then we're going to have to install Brain here. So Brain.js. And hit enter. Sweet. Now when that's complete, you can close this command prompt window, or you can leave it open for later. We'll be using it to run Node, so just keep that aside. And then you're going to want to open chatbot.js for editing. Boom. Now I'll quickly go through each one of these and explain. This is a really short code. It's only like 190 lines or something like that, so really straightforward. There's lots of commenting. All right, so let's go through this file quickly. Basically, this line here just creates our Discord, or it basically loads our Discord modules for us to use. This will create a new Discord client for us, and then this will load our libraries for reading text files. This line is our brain.js. This will load our modules for Brain, and then here's where we actually create our neural net. All right, and this variable actually loads our token from that token file. There's a better way to do this if you use this npm module.env, and I got a link down in the description for a tutorial on how to use that. It's a more secure way of storing this, but this will work for now. And then here's a variable if you want to store a specific channel ID for where you want the bot to respond to. And then here's where we need to actually put the actual ID of the bot, and I'll be showing you later how to get that. Okay, and in this function here, this function is basically called when the bot's ready. So when the bot's ready, it's going to load our neural net from, this shouldn't actually be learn.a, this is going to be neuralnet.json. It's going to load our neural net from neuralnet.json, and then it's going to tell us that it's ready. And then this function is really straightforward. This function just listens to every message that is sent through that Discord server. And this really just stops any blank messages from coming through, because we can't process any blank messages. And right here, this line here just asks to see if the sender is the bot. So make sure that we're not sending a message if the bot says something. And then if you do have a specific channel that you want the bot to answer in, you can uncomment this line right here and make sure that your channel ID is filled in at the top there. All right, and then this line here just basically separates the words, gets the words from the sentence, and this will remove all characters except for letters, so that we're only dealing with words and we don't have numbers or special characters. After that point, we just send it through our neural net, and it gives us a response. That's basically all this function does. Really simple. And then this line of code is important. This is basically tells the bot to log into Discord. Again, from our training program, we have the same kind of response arrays. This is where we need them. The training program is just kind of there for training, but here's where you actually need the response arrays and all that. Again, you can customize these how you want. You can add or remove items from this list, just separate them by a comma, etc. And then here is the same reply function from the training program, and the same greeting, just random greeting string. All right, so this reply takes the response from the neural net, which will basically be a number. For some reason is blank, I don't know why it would be, but it just will return a thinking emote. And then we take that intent number and we just use a switch command here to direct this intent to the proper place. So if we get a 1 from the neural net, then it's going to give us hello replies, etc., etc. And this just basically chooses a random reply from these lists. Pretty straightforward. And that is it. That is really it. There's really nothing much to this artificial intelligence bot, at least as far as the code goes. All right, so if you need a specific channel ID to give to the bot to respond in, what you're going to need to do in order to do that is go down to your user settings and then click on advanced, and then make sure that developer mode is turned on. And that's going to allow you to do something like right click on a channel and go and copy ID. And then you can paste it in the bot file, channel ID. And then right here, you want to remove these comment blocks. And then that'll basically allow the bot to respond only in one channel. Okay, but just for now, I'm just going to comment that out so it responds in every channel. Perfect. All right, so the next thing you're going to need to do is go to discord.com developers/applications. That link will also be down in the description. And then here's where you'll be in the developer portal, and you can actually add your applications here. And what you're going to do is create a new application. You're going to give it a name, something clever. Create. Okay, and then what that's going to do is going to set up a page like so. Here you can add a description to your bot and all kinds of other information. You can put an icon if you want, etc., etc. Okay, but what you're going to need to do is go to bot. You're going to click add bot. You're going to say yes, do it. And now what that's going to do is create a bot user for you. And most importantly, it's going to create a token. And what we're going to do is copy that token with this copy button. And that's the actual token that you're going to paste in this file right here. And so this is one you want to keep secret. You don't want to show anybody this. You don't want anybody to know this because then they can actually take over your bot and do malicious things. And that's never a good thing. All right, so I'm just going to save this for our bot. That token just allows our program to communicate with the bot. You can choose to make this a public bot or a private bot. It's up to you. Just use this, turn it off if you want it just to be in your server, or if you want anybody to find it, you can turn that on. I just make mine private. So this application ID is actually your bot ID. You can copy this number and you can paste it in chatbot.js here, bot ID. And so when you're ready to invite the bot to your server, what you're going to do is come down to OAuth2, and then you want to click bot. And what that'll do is it'll generate a link for you that you can copy. And you can paste that into your web address. And then that'll allow you to add it to a specific server that you have permission to add to. So I'm going to add this bot to the Adventure Inn and authorize it. And there we go. That basically is saying that the bot has been authorized on our server. Let's go check it out. Okay, and if we look here in our server, we have a new member that's joined called Smarty Pants. All right, so once your bot's added to the server, in my case, I have to actually give it permissions to speak in this channel. So I'm going to do that. Okay, once all the permissions are set up for our bot, now we can go to our bot folder and open up a command window there. And then we're going to attempt to run the bot by typing node and then space. Then you're going to put the file name of the bot, chatbot.js for me. And then hit enter, and if everything went well, it should work. All right, so here we've got bot ready, which is great. If we go to our server, we see that our bot Smarty Pants is online. That's awesome. And if we say something, hello, Smarty Pants says yo. If we say, how are you? Smarty Pants says, how are you? I'm peaceful. If we say, it's raining, out. Bye. Okay, so it's got a little bit of an issue there. Goodbye. LOL. Funny. No. Yes. Yes. Okay then. So you see, it's working more or less. Awesome. There you go. And that's how easy it is to make a chatbot that's driven by a neural net. I mean, there's probably countless ways to do this, but this is just how I've done it. Alright guys, so if you liked the video, leave a like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. Leave a comment down in the comment section below what you guys thought of the video, or if you want to see some more coding adventures, let me know, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!